What's going on, everybody? It is that time again. The Sooners Illustrated Podcast, episode 205.
205.
On this Monday, September 1st, 2025, Labor Day Monday. Hopefully, everyone enjoying a nice holiday. There was football played this weekend. We were there. Oklahoma kicked off the 2025 season on Saturday night to beat Illinois State 35-3. We're going to recap it all, the good, the bad, the exciting, the concerning, maybe. We'll get into all of it here on the program today, and we're going to end it with the question that everyone's wondering right now. Is this team ready to go beat Michigan? We'll broach the subject a little bit on the back end of the show as well. Feels good to be back on a football Monday, talking about a football game. We were there, a lot to kind of sift through from Saturday night, the first game of the 2025 season. A reminder as we get going to subscribe to Sooners Illustrated at oklahoma.247sports.com. Use the promo code SoonersPod60 for 60% off. It was a great opening weekend. I saw the game thread was popping off for you guys. A lot of excitement about the opener, a lot of conversation about the opener. So tons of VIP content there, certainly, of course, as well, and the entire 24/7 Sports Network. So come be a part of the community. Season's just getting going. Not too late. Jump in. I think there's a chance for this to be a pretty fun season. So jump in at Sooners Illustrated. Again, promo code SoonersPod60, 60% off a year subscription to Sooners Illustrated right now. Gentlemen, football this weekend. We were there. Oklahoma knocks off Illinois State 35-3. You know, we went into it. We talked about it on Friday, like, what are we going to learn about this team? You know, it's an FCS team, granted a good one, probably better than Temple a year ago. We kind of touched on that a little bit on Friday. They won 35-3. James and I did the instant reaction. We talked about it then. A little bit of a mixed bag. Some definite good things, some definite bad things. We're going to get into all of it on the show here today. But the mood for you guys exiting the stadium on Saturday. Again, kind of an odd game because, again, there was some legitimately encouraging things, but also some things that were kind of like, didn't love that either. The vibe for you guys, though, just coming out of this game and kind of just general thoughts before we get into specifics as Oklahoma gets off to a 1-0 start against Illinois State on Saturday.
Yeah, I think I left the stadium feeling a little optimistic about this team. Yeah. There's still questions, and I don't think we learned a whole lot. Just because, again, they kept everything very vanilla, rotated a lot of guys, which you're not always going to see every week. And they held back some guys that were, dealing with a few minor issues. So all things considered, like I came out a little optimistic because even though the defense, had a couple, misfits on some runs, especially early in the game, they still just like smothered Illinois State for large swaths of that game. You watch the game, and you're like, man, this doesn't feel quite like Oklahoma's defense. Then you're like, oh, they forced 10 punts, 3 3-and-outs.
Right.
And the only points they gave up was on a short field off a turnover where they still held Illinois State to like 6 yards over 3 plays and made them kick the field goal. But then offensively, I mean, you have to feel encouraged about, like, John Mateer came out there and delivered as advertised. I know everybody wanted to see how he was going to do. And again, I know it was an FCS opponent. But he did what he was supposed to do. Like, he had that one interception that was off the hands of Deion Burks. But other than that, I mean, 30 of 37, almost 400 yards passing, 4 total touchdowns. Like, he did his thing. And I think most importantly, the wide receivers didn't have any drops. He was putting it in there, and they were securing all those catches, even some contested ones, like the one-handed fade down the sideline that Deion Burks had, the one that Keontae Lewis made, like, through defensive pass interference.
Yeah,
like, those are the things that you like to see coming out of a game against a team like Illinois State.
I mean, yeah, that's exactly what we were kind of saying in the post game, like, just instant reaction. It was a lot of good things from Oklahoma, especially John Mateer. It wasn't a lot of hype. I mean, it wasn't hype that wasn't warranted, basically. He proved that all of that was what you should have been thinking of him going into it. I think he's that good, and we saw a lot of it. Just the way he commanded the offense, even though it was very vanilla, there was some shots downfield that we got to see. I mean, outside of one that he just overthrew, like, just got too hype and overthrew it, there was a lot of good things about it. And even on the interception, well, I think it's just like those two guys learning the playbook a little bit better with each other. Like Deion Burks, it seemed like he curled the route more than John Mateer thought. John Mateer thought he was going to just straight turn around right there. And that's kind of what the interception was like. But the timing was there for that play. So there's some things that you got to, fix and things like that, especially as we talked about with the offensive line. But there was some good news on Brent Venables' radio show. He's some guys are coming back. So there's a lot of good things going on just based on what you saw, in that game. But overall, I thought it was pretty good for Oklahoma and what they did out there.
Yeah, rocky start, right? I mean, the first couple
Mm-hmm.
drives, not what anybody wanted. They go 3 and out to start, and then Jaren Kanak fumbles on the next drive, and it was like, come on, But they got it going. That Deion Burks play that you guys referenced, that catch on the sideline, kind of seemed like it got things going a little bit. It kind of got everyone like, okay, we're all right, and the offense kind of got rolling from there. A lot to be encouraged by offensively. Namely, like you guys said, John Mateer. So he breaks Baker Mayfield's record for passing yards in an OU debut. Not bad. Obviously, he got the Baker comparisons all off season. He comes out first game, 392, breaks Baker's 388 mark against Akron back in 2015. I rewatched the game on Monday mornings before we do this podcast every single week. And I honestly was more impressed with John Mateer after rewatching it. He was so sharp. A couple misses. He had that first deep ball that he just sailed. I think maybe the adrenaline was pumping a little bit. And he had the interception. Yeah, he had a short hop. He had a couple misses. You're not going to be completely 100% perfect. But, man, he was good. He was throwing darts all over the field, tight spirals, that back shoulder to Keontae Lewis, the touchdowns of Keontae Lewis, the last one in the corner was a dime. Guys, it's Illinois State. That's what you had to kind of keep putting the disclaimer on as we do this whole show. But I thought John Mateer was excellent on Saturday. It's hard not to come out of it. And compared to what we saw last year, like James said and Brent Venables said, the command of the offense, decisive, just bullets everywhere, almost 400 yards passing. He ran for a touchdown. The Mateer hype is only going to go up because I thought he was really, really good on Saturday.
Yeah, and he was on SEC this morning doing a little segment there, and he said that Arbuckle and Kuziewski gave him an 88% grade for that game. So obviously a very, very, very strong performance. Left a few throws out there, but definitely something to build on. And like you said, you can tell he's comfortable in this offense. The throws were on the money. That one to Jacob Jordan to set up the first touchdown was also just a really impressive strike. But yeah, a lot to like about him. And one of the things that kind of struck me after the game, like I was on the field just kind of following him around to see what the post-game, situation was going to be with him, like where he and Ben Arbuckle were going to find each other. Where was he looking for his family? And he did not find them, but he's already kind of elevated into this like rock star stratosphere among fans. People were pulling him left and right, asking for a photo, asking for an autograph. Todd Bates even went up to him and was like, John, and made sure one of his daughters got a photo with him after the game. And
that's cool.
Just fans reaching over the railing of the tunnel, trying to get him to sign a football, a hat, anything. And it's something that you didn't notice was absent last year until you see that it's present this year. It's there wasn't that kind of fervor for Jackson Arnold. And I don't think it was even so much about what John Mateer did on Saturday, because again, it was against Illinois State, an FCS opponent. But I think it was more about the promise of what could be for this Oklahoma offense with a guy like him in the saddle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, like I said, I think the passing attack, I came away from that okay, I'm pretty sure they're going to be really good this year through the air. That's the thing I saw out of that, because even with the offensive line having all of the different guys out there, they were able to pass block pretty well, against FCS. Only one sack given up for those guys. So, it was good overall. All the receivers that you said, Tom, nobody dropped the pass. It was just overall, it was good through the air. Now, the run game, in which I'm sure we're going to get into later on, is if John Mateer can get a run game from, just some of his backs there, this offense is going to be that top 5 offense that Brent Venables keeps talking about when he's talking about 2013. 2023, not 2013, excuse me, 2023. So it's that's a good situation for Oklahoma to have right now.
Oh, we'll get into the run game. That's the discord. But yeah, you touched on it. Obviously, John breaks the passing yards record. All the attention is going to be on him for a good reason. He's the quarterback. That's what the intrigue was. He's getting a lot of hype right now. Nationally, saying, look what John Mateer did in his first game at OU. He was awesome, almost threw for 400 yards. It's also a team record here, right? Because again, like you guys said, the receivers are great. At least that top line that we thought. Keontae Lewis, 9 catches, 119 yards, the 2 touchdowns. Deion Burks, 7 catches, 88 yards. and a touchdown. Jaren Kanak, had the fumble, but settled back down. He had the longest play of the day, that 48-yarder. He goes 5 catches, 90 yards. Isaiah Satania, a couple grabs as well. Jacob Jordan got in there. They pretty much kept it to those top guys. They didn't rotate that much as I kind of honestly thought they would going in at wide receiver. But hard not to feel pretty good with the pass catchers, right? I mean, Jaren Kanak has a nice game. The receivers, especially Burks and Lewis, and Satania, even though he didn't do like a lot, you feel good there. The little bit he did, the returning punts thing, which we can talk about later or now, it didn't matter. But the passing game looks to be in a really good place with John Mateer. And then Kanak, man, the guy's a linebacker. I think we all were a little skeptical. He clearly can get out there and catch the ball and make plays. Like it's apparent that he is going to be a part of this thing. And we said as much going into the season. He wins the job first game. He looks pretty darn good. He's a tough matchup. I mean, he's an athlete. I don't know if linebackers can really hang with him. Corners, he probably can kind of push him around a little. Jaren Kanak's probably going to be a part of this. But to James' point, Tom, I mean, the passing game feels like it's in a really good place with these top-line receivers. You're going to get Giovanni Gibson back. Hard not to feel pretty encouraged about what they have at the wide receiver room. And then looks like Kanak at tight end.
Yeah, and I think it was kind of weird. Like entering this season, people had maybe a cautious optimism about the wide receiver room. Like, you felt good about some of the guys, even though they hadn't really done anything at this level yet, except for Deion Burks at Purdue and what we saw at the beginning of last season for him. But if they can stay healthy, I mean, Keontae Lewis is a dude. I was really impressed with him. I still think Isaiah Satania is going to do a lot of good things in this offense. You mentioned him at punt returner. I mean, they haven't had a guy that looks like that at punt returner since Marvin Mims. Like they just have not had a guy who could be a difference maker in the return game like that in a minute. But yeah, I mean, look, the wide receivers all made the plays. Again, they did not drop any passes. They ran good routes. There was only the one miscommunication there between Deion Burks and John Mateer. But they had 7 pass plays of 20 plus yards in this game. That is more than a third of what they had all of last season. They had 20 of those plays all of last season, which was tied for 131st out of 134 FBS teams. And they go out and they have 7 of those plays in the opener. And again, it was against Illinois State.
It was.
But Oklahoma had
you didn't see
Temple and Maine on the
you read my mind. They didn't do this last year.
Have those opportunities.
A Temple team that is probably worse, or at least pretty comparable. Houston last year. I mean, against the bad teams, they still couldn't throw the ball. So you read my mind perfectly.
Yeah, so like it is a very promising sign that this passing offense is going to be in good shape with John Mateer, with Ben Arbuckle, with their familiarity, and with this receiving core. I was just really impressed. I mean, we didn't even see Elijah Thomas, who we heard all about, throughout the preseason. Zion Kearney only got in there for a handful of snaps. Jermichael Carter played a handful of snaps as he still kind of gets settled in. And again, they're going to get Giovanni Gibson back at some point. So I'm buying stock in this passing offense right now.
How about Jaren Kanak as well? As you mentioned, the best tight end performance since Braden Willis. Like that's a guy that's been in the NFL for quite some time now. Like it's good. I mean, I think Jim Nagy retweeted you, Josh, was talking about NFL scouts are they're going to be paying attention at the end of the year that this guy like Jaren Kanak for what he can do with the ball in his hands, which is what everybody's been saying throughout camp, especially Ben Arbuckle. It was like he won the job because of what he could do with the ball in his hands, and we got a chance to see that. Like it's there. I can see it now. Now, how is he going to block and things like that? That's kind of the question.
He got a holding penalty.
Yeah, he got a holding penalty. That's going to be the questions for him. But as a pass catcher, I'm fairly confident what he could do. But shout out to even the other tight ends, Will Huggins, Carson King. They all got at least one catch in the game. So that was pretty good for them as well. So I mean, it's just good all around for what they did in this performance. As you said, they didn't do this last year. So just seeing it, even though it's against an FCS opponent, it's still something to kind of, I guess, be excited about if you're an Oklahoma fan, because it just looks better. I mean, it just looks better. You have more confidence, especially as you go into a really tough battle in Norman in this week.
Right.
Yeah, and to go off that, I mean, they had 9 different guys catch passes in this game, even though they didn't rotate too heavily.
Sure.
And again, some of those passes were to running backs too. But on the Jaren Kanak front, like, yes, we want to see what he can do as a blocker, especially once you get into a team like Michigan, some of these SEC teams. But I also think that, Ben Arbuckle is going to have the wherewithal to not put him on an island and try to block Dylan Stewart like they were doing with Bauer Sharp last year. It's like he's going to have his help.
For sure.
He's still going to have to do something to help slow those guys down. But I'm curious to see how he performs once they get into the meat of the schedule as a blocking tight end, because you can't just have him out there, lined up only on passing plays. Like he's going to need to contribute as a blocker, because you don't want to tip your hand every time.
Mm-hmm.
Right, no doubt. I agree completely. Arbuckle, they're aware of the limitations, and they'll do their best to minimize it. But yeah, not much you can complain about in the passing attack at all on Saturday. You can't really. I mean, John Mateer broke Baker's record for passing yards in debut. I mean, just right there. Like I said, the hype train going through the roof for John. On the negative side, they didn't run the ball. Right, they didn't run the ball. It was awful. It's tough because it's like, what do you make of it, right? Because Torrey Blaylock did some good things. Blaylock ended up going out early in the second half, like a shoulder. Not sure the severity there. I don't think it's anything super long term. I don't know, but we'll find out in due time. Torrey Blaylock did some good things. Javonte Barnes couldn't get loose at all. Xavier Robinson couldn't really get loose at all. They didn't use Jaden Ott. He got one carry. They couldn't run the ball. I mean, it was rough. Most of their yards came from, or at least a good chunk came from Mateer just scrambling around. Even with that, though, they only averaged 3.2 yards a carry in this game. It was rough. Your concerns here, offensive line in general, it was kind of weird. You kind of look at it. I mean, Jacob Sexton goes out early. I think it was a knee for him. Eddie Pierre-Louis gets yanked. They move Fabechi Wiwu over. Got a lot of Ryan Foje. Like James referenced earlier, Brent Venables said Derek Simmons, Mike Fasusi on the way back. You figure those guys back in the fold, you maybe roll a little bit more with Jaden Ott. Hopefully, maybe this can all turn around. So there are reasons to kind of talk yourself into like it can be a lot better. But where are you guys at offensive line-wise after Saturday? Because they just didn't get any push in the run game really at all.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what the offensive line looks like this week. And just looking at the snap breakdowns, like you said, EPL, I think he only played like 18 snaps, maybe a little bit more before he came out, and then they moved Fabechi Wiwu over to the left side. I would not be surprised if we go into this Michigan game and we see Fabechi Wiwu starting at left guard and Ryan Foje starting at right guard. Even though Ryan Foje, had some hiccups in his first game out there, which are to be expected from a true freshman. But he was moving guys at points. Like you can tell there's just something a little bit different about him. And look, especially if you're getting like a Derek Simmons and a Michael Fasusi back, and you feel like Michael Fasusi is going to be your best option at left tackle this week, especially if Jacob Sexton were to miss this game and you don't want to roll Luke Bacchio out there again. If you're starting Michael Fasusi, I seriously contemplate starting Fabechi Wiwu at left guard, so he has that veteran presence next to him. Because then even if you're starting Ryan Foje at right guard, you have either Derek Simmons or Logan Hallen, who Logan Hallen's the only guy on that offensive line that played every single offensive snap. And he did some good things in the game. But I'm curious to see, Derek Simmons is obviously a guy that throughout the offseason we thought, was going to be the favorite for that job until he got that concussion in fall camp. So I'm really curious to see what they do there. And again, center, it's tough because it was almost like a 50-50 split between Troy Everett and Jake Michaela. And, I really like the leadership that Troy brings. He didn't have his best game. And I'm just really interested to see what they do there because, Jake Michaela physically has, more reach, has a little bit better skill set, I think, overall. But Troy Everett has that experience in this team, and he's that voice on the offensive line that they need. So, again, the offensive line, I don't know how much you want to read into it from the opener, just because, again, they were without some guys. They were trying to feel some things out, but they're going to have to be better across the board this week with Michigan coming to town.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be able to run the football, especially against a team like Michigan that's going to try to control the clock anyway with their dominant run game. So you got to be able to do that. So you hope to see that some of those guys coming back, as you mentioned, with Derek Simmons and Michael Fasusi, maybe they can help this run game. But we don't know what Michael Fasusi is going to do, as a freshman going out there. I mean, his first start being against Michigan, I mean, maybe that's pretty tough. I mean, how's he going to look? So, those are the questions that we still have overall for the offensive line. Logan Hallen, who I think he played the most snaps on the offensive line.
He played every snap.
Yeah. So, I mean, he was a staple for that group. You want to see him out there again, obviously, and do pretty well. Jake, I thought, as Tom said, had a really, really good, game. I mean, the first scoring drive, he was the main center on that drive, after Troy got hurt. So like there's good signs on the offensive line, but you just got to put it all together. And so you don't want to really be shifting around once again like you did last year. So you want to find those 5 guys, and that's what it's going to come down to, I think. Just finding those guys this week, getting their confidence together as a cohesive unit, and going with those guys for this game against Michigan.
And I should say, Fabecci Weewu played every snap too. It's just that Logan Howland played every snap at one spot, where Fabecci rotated between left guard and right guard.
Right. I'm curious, if Simmons is back, is it just you throw him a right tackle, then you move Howland to left tackle? Or, I mean, did you like what Logan did enough to just continue to roll it, maybe rotate them? That's for Bill Beamo to figure out. But there's still some moving pieces here, obviously, on the offensive line. The running back room, outside of Troy Blaylock, who did some nice things. I mean, Troy Blaylock was running hard. He ran over guys, had a touchdown. The other 3 guys, Xavier Robinson, Javonte Barnes, Jaden Ott, 16 carries for 26 yards. That is awful. I mean, it is awful. They couldn't do anything. Javonte Barnes in particular, he's kind of catching the ire of the fan base right now. 7 carries for 10 yards. Just couldn't get loose at all. I don't know. Jaden Ott got 1 carry in this game. So it's like, was that a health thing? This has been a sticking point for a few years of the running back rotations being weird. Was Jaden Ott just being held back here, or is that how it is, right? Because kind of moving forward, because if you're going to roll Barnes again on Saturday against Michigan, I think it's fair to be like, man, I like Javonte Barnes, but I think like we kind of know what he is a little bit at this point. He can't really make guys miss. He doesn't have enough burst to like get around the edge. Like he's just a fine running back, but he's not that game breaker that Ott is supposed to be. The running back room needs to figure some things out here, guys, right? Because we thought coming in that this is a great position on paper. And in this game, again, X-Rob, 8 carries for 17 yards, then Barnes 7 for 10. I mean, that's horrible against an FCS team, no less. Got to figure something out here, right? And I'm very curious where the carries go on Saturday against Michigan, because it's to be sorted out. And you got to get Ott more involved, right? I mean, you have to.
Yeah. I have questions about the running back room right now, but I'm not overly concerned yet. Because again, it's a 1-game sample size. They kept things pretty, vanilla, pretty basic. And we only saw 4 snaps total out of Jaden Ott. He played 1 series. I would be floored if he's not out there more against Michigan or starting. I would imagine he's going to start as long as he's healthy, especially because we don't know if Torrey Blaylock's going to be available this week or not. But they're going to need Jaden Ott if they're going to beat Michigan. It was interesting listening to Ben Arbuckle after the game when asked about the running game. Is like, want to go back and watch the film, but it just felt like they were like close to breaking a few and just either missed the hole or had a bad read somewhere that they weren't able to get those explosive runs that they want. But again, this is also a game where they leaned on just slinging the ball around the yard with John Mateer. So again, like it's hard to read too much into the 1-game sample size when they're keeping things as basic as they were and rotating guys as much as they were and weren't using Jaden Ott like many of us expect. And Ben Arbuckle said, like, Jaden Ott is a special player and he has like no worries about what he's going to do in this offense. Mm-hmm. It's just getting him into that rhythm and getting him to where he needs to be. This week will probably be very telling about the running back room because it's going to be a big test against a very good Michigan defense. So we'll see, but I would imagine that we're going to see a lot more of Jaden Ott this week than we did in the opener.
Yeah, I think the thing with Javonte Barnes, and I may be speaking out of turn because I'm not a coach, but I just don't think that the run concepts fit his style the way it should. Like I feel like he's a downhill type of back. Like he's the guy that's behind the quarterback in an I formation or just behind center where he's darting towards the line of scrimmage at the snap of the ball instead of this zone read where he's not sure if he's getting he's staying next to the quarterback. He's not sure if he's getting the ball just yet. And then he has to make a cut. Like he has to decide where to cut in between the tackles. Mm-hmm. And so like, I feel like that type of run concept is better for guys like, Atari Walker when he was here, or Torrey Blaylock, who's, has the speed, Xavier Robinson, who has those type of cuts that he can make. I think that's the way it should be for those guys. I mean, I'm just not sure that it fits his style. I mean, and I don't know. I mean, I'm just
Sure.
looking at the film all throughout all these years. It seemed like he would be best, darting towards the line of scrimmage, being a big back, and having that process. So that's the kind of things I'm seeing. But like I said, like Torrey Blaylock, he took full advantage of his opportunities. I mean, it's good to see from a true freshman to go out there and have that type of performance. He was barreling through guys. Maybe that, eventually is why he got hurt. But he had all the confidence in the world, it's just great for a freshman to have that type of situation for them. So as we talked about the run game, I think a lot of it has to do with the offensive line. Even when Jaden Ott got in there, like I said, on the instant reaction, he just didn't get an opportunity to do anything because it was like one of those plays where they didn't block anybody. It was 2 or 3 guys in his face as he got the football. We want to see, we're saying he's a home run type of guy because of what he can do once he hits the hole. He didn't get a chance to do that. So I still want to wait and see what happens with that, see if he's fully healthy, what is he going to do against Michigan. So just kind of wait and see on the run game, especially with, offensive linemen coming back, trying to get more healthy and see what happens there.
So overall, offensively, what do we think? I mean, Mateer looked great. Obviously, we said they threw the ball over the place, didn't really run it, but there's still reasons for optimism there. Again, I mean, we all assume that Ott's can be a huge part of this. He basically didn't play essentially on Saturday. Offensive line getting some key guys back, still doing some shuffling. Where are we feeling offensively? I think, it feels like the bones are here to be a pretty good offense, but there's still fair questions, right?
Yeah, I mean, you got to get the offensive line situated, and you need to get the run game rolling a little bit more.
Yeah.
But as long as you have John Mateer and that healthy receiving core, I think you feel optimistic about this offense. Like it's going to be better than last year's. And again, that's a very low bar to clear. But I think I saw enough on Saturday to not be hitting the panic button for any reason. It's going to take time. It was the first game in a new offense, first game for an offensive coordinator, keeping things vanilla against an FCS opponent right before a marquee matchup. And they rotated a lot of guys too while trying to sort things out and get guys some good game reps. I think we saw the starters a lot more than we expected. I think we all said we thought, maybe early third quarters when they would pull them.
They weren't far enough out there. Yeah, they were only up 18.
Well, but I mean, also like when you have a team like Michigan, it's finding the balance between not putting guys out there to get hurt, but also it's your first game of the season, man. You need some game reps for some of these dudes, especially with that new look offense. So I get both points of view from that, but I felt encouraged about the offense coming out of this game.
Mm-hmm. For sure. That's the way I see it too. I felt encouraged about it because of just the way that the offense looked when they're passing the football. I mean, and we've seen Oklahoma win some big games, even though they were like one-dimensional back in 2023. Like it was just like they couldn't run as well, but the passing attack was so phenomenal that they were dicing teams up. So if they have to do that against Michigan, it wouldn't be ideal, I don't think. I mean, obviously, you want to be able to run the football a little bit, but they can do it, I think, overall.
I agree. Reasons to be encouraged. One game in. Credit to our friend George Stoy over at Sooner Scoop, who pointed out how crazy similar the box scores are offensively between this game and 2015. That game we referenced earlier, Akron, where Baker set the record that John Mateer just broke. Same thing. Like they ran for about 100 yards. Baker had a big game like Mateer did. They won. I think that game was 41-3. This was 35-3. Like kind of eerily similar. Again, we keep drawing the comparisons. You always have to say, like, I'm not saying that Mateer is Baker. I'm not saying Arbuckle is Lincoln Riley, but the similarities kind of continue. It was kind of a very similar game. And obviously that year went pretty good, so good first game steps. We'll see what they do this weekend against a much better defense, obviously, in Michigan. Let's go over to the other side of football. Defensively, we know the defense is good. They owned Illinois State had 151 total yards. They only got the field goal because, like Tom referenced, Mateer had the interception that gave him a short field, and even then they shut it down immediately. Illinois State had to settle for a field goal. Otherwise, they don't score in this game. They couldn't move the ball. There was a couple of breaks where Illinois State popped some big runs here and there where it just kind of seemed like it was maybe just like kind of just first game mistakes, really. I don't feel like they missed a tackle in this game. That's how it felt, at least. They tackled really, really well, I thought. Every open field play, I feel like the guys made. How many yards did Illinois State throw for in this game? 34.
Like 30, yeah.
couldn't throw the ball at all. And they have a good quarterback, by the way. We didn't really talk about in the game preview, but Tommy Rittenhouse, I think, was like preseason second team All-American at FCS, something like that. Like
he got hurt.
He got hurt in the third quarter, but even before then, he wasn't doing anything. He had 22 yards on 13 attempts, So defensively, it was really good. Didn't force a turnover. Would you like them to? Of course. You always want to force turnovers. But I don't know if that's really anything to like freak out about by any means. Had a couple of sacks. Would you like more? Sure. But it felt like Illinois State was making a point to like, get rid of the ball. I don't think there was any thought of like we could hold up against this D-line for a long time. Middle of the zone, defensive tackles were clogging up lanes, a lot of runs up the middle for nothing for Illinois State in this game. The list of defensive players you could say played well, I feel like is really long. Samuel Wasigo led him in tackles with 8, kind of quietly. He also had a sack. For you guys defensively, I don't think we really learned much here because defense is good. We know they're good, and they dominated. They kind of went out there and did what they should. Any takeaways for you guys defensively, or maybe even just some players that stood out in particular for you? Because it again, we knew that they probably were going to dominate going in. They did. A lot to feel good about with this side of the football going into Saturday against Michigan, I think.
Yeah. And before I get into that, they did miss 6 total tackles, but nobody had more than 1. So it was just like 6 guys missing a tackle.
Yeah, I'm just trying
to according to Pro Football Focus.
Off the Rolodex, it's like, it felt like almost every open field tackle they made is how it felt, at least. But obviously,
Yeah. Again, it was a quietly thorough performance from this defense. Again, you got to clean up some stuff in the run game. They let a couple kind of break contain there, especially in the first half. I was really impressed with Jaden Jackson at the point of attack. Yeah, and David Stone too looked super disruptive. Like he was moving guys off the ball there.
Yeah,
and you like to see that from a guy who we'd heard so much about, that he turned this corner in the offseason. So let's see if that carries over into an opponent like Michigan, where the offensive line is going to be a lot tougher. But seeing those 2 sophomores in the middle of that line felt really encouraging. Cortland Guillory getting the start at corner. He had that one holding call that resulted in first down.
Sure.
It was 3 plays later, gets a key pass breakup to force the punt. So you really like how he kind of responds to that. And I think I noted to James and our colleague Ryan Chapman in the press box, but right after that pass breakup, I was like, feels like he's going to get called for some penalties this year. Like, I don't know how much he's going to get away with playing that close, but you got to respect like just that I'm going to be on you like a glove.
Yeah.
Coverage mentality from a freshman. And again, it kind of lives up to what we heard about him, throughout fall camp. It's like, yeah, man, he is a dog as a cover corner, and he's going to be on these guys and not going to make anything easy for them. So I thought those things were really encouraging, and I thought Peyton Bowen looked really good, man.
Mm-hmm.
The numbers weren't eye popping. I think he had 3 or 4 tackles. He did have that one hurry on a blitz coming from the blind side in the first quarter. That was just like, okay, this is what a healthy Peyton Bowen looks like. He can get in there and really impact things. And then the one other guy that really stood out to me was Kobe McKenzie. He was just flattening dudes. There was that one time where Illinois State's running back tried to get in his way on a blitz, and he just absolutely obliterated him. Probably saved a sack, but still impacted the play and just obliterated that running back.
Mm-hmm. I think those are the exact guys that we referenced on the instant reaction time. Like, it was like, that's exactly what we were seeing out there. But I think one of the guys we missed was Owen Heineke. I mean, like, second on the team in tackles, and for what he did, he was all around the field as well. In his opportunities, he was looking pretty good. So wanted to give him a shout out with the 4 tackles and what he was doing out there. I mean, shout out to Samuel Wasigo. As you said, he got his first sack. And led the team in tackles with 8 tackles overall. So I mean, it was just a good overall deal for the defense. We didn't get to see like the safeties getting tested much because they didn't throw a lot of shots down the field. So we really don't know how they're going to react just yet. But I mean, it's Robert Spears-Jennings and Peyton Bowen. I mean, we've seen them on the field for Oklahoma. So just want to see like stuff like that. But other than that, it was overall pretty good outside of some of those like long runs they gave up, which kind of like makes you think the run game wasn't as good, run defense wasn't as good, but it was like 4 or 5 like broken, run plays there that kind of changed the trajectory of that stat line overall.
And even then it was like 130 yards or 120 yards that they gave up rushing. So like
Yeah.
Like you said, it's those 3 or 4 plays that they kind of let break contain a little bit, and then the rest they were just shutting them down.
Yeah, it was still 117 yards. It looks like. Yeah,
it was only 117. Oh wow,
that's what they netted. At least that's what it says in the box.
Oh, net. Okay.
But yeah, no, it was good defensively. I mean, like I said at the top, the list of guys who I thought played pretty well, at least had an impact on the game, is really long. Everyone you guys said, and there's still a handful more. Gentry Williams looked healthy, looked good. Excited to see him. Just again, we say it all the time, but if he stays healthy, he's gonna have a great year.
Yeah, I told James after that first big tackle he made on after giving up that completion, I was like, well, shoulder stayed intact.
Yeah,
like that's what you want to see. Like because
one hit through. Yeah.
Like we saw that last year. Like the first 1 or 2 tackles that he made is like holding his shoulder again. So it's promising there. And I think he was targeted twice, gave up the 2 completions, but they netted out -3 yards. So it's like he was on them.
Yeah, they were like bubble screens.
He had a really good hit on one of those screens. Yeah.
I thought Kendall Daniels looked good flying around, broke up a couple of plays, had a couple of tackles. Taylor Wine had a sack. He also was one that knocked Rittenhouse out of the game, just smoked him. He got rid of the ball, so it doesn't like show up, and I guess it goes in because of hurry. He, just drove him into the ground, and that was it. I mean, Tommy Rittenhouse never came back in the game, which, I mean, not that you're trying to hurt someone, but that's a product of a big hit and coming in clean. So Taylor Wine making an impact on the game, certainly. And then I thought I had one more that I'm blanking on. But yeah, I think we hit just about everyone. Yeah, it was good. I mean, it was good. I mean, it was good defensively. They dominated the game, which you knew they would going in. And so I think a lot to be encouraged by overall defensively. Kind of, again, what we thought. Oh, I was going to mention Reggie Powers. That's who it was. Reggie Powers had a couple of nights. He had that one big hit on kind of that throw out in the flat. So yeah, like I said, the list of guys who made an impact or made at least like a couple of plays is really long defensively, which is good. We knew going in the depth is really good. You kind of felt that. It felt like on Saturday.
Yeah, they had 29 guys play defensively in this game. I think it was R. Mason Thomas and Cortland Guillory led them, and neither of them played more than 35 snaps. Again, Illinois State only ran 40-something plays. So it's like there wasn't a whole lot of opportunity.
That's good numbers, though,
to get a lot of guys out there. But they still managed to rotate pretty heavily, get some guys some reps, and keep everybody healthy going into next week.
Mert Venable said he's comfortable calling a defense, by the way. Just want to point that out.
It felt normal.
It felt normal.
Well, it was funny when he was like, yeah, even when you're not calling it, you're still like calling it in your head.
In your head, yeah.
So it's like, yeah, the only difference is he's speaking it out into the headset now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 47 plays is all that Illinois State ran. Yeah. And, I mean, you kind of go through the snap counts that Tom gets together on Sundays is a great resource for VIP members because it really helps tell the story of the game. It's kind of stunning how few snaps some of these guys played in a good way. Like, they really got them off their feet. Like, do you realize some of the snap counts? Like, Jay Jackson played 11 snaps in this game. 11, like, that's very little wear and tear. Or 18, excuse me.
18 nose and defense
spot. But like, that's very little wear and tear, which is what you want. In a season opener, you don't want guys to be wiped by any means. I mean, Samuel Masigo had 18 snaps at linebacker. Is that total? I think that's it for him. Yeah. So like, again, and he had 8 tackles. You know what I mean? So it's like it was a very workmanlike. Again, would you like a turnover too? Obviously, but those will come in time if they continue to play that they did on Saturday, getting after the quarterback and getting big hits, and those will come. Those will come in due time. So good day defensively, I thought. For
one of Tom's keys was like getting out of this healthy, and I think the defense pretty much is unscathed from that game. Pretty much, like that's a great sign as you go into Michigan. So on the offense, I think it was
you just have
Blaylock and
Blaylock, I guess. Sexton, that's kind of the question moving the rest of the week. Yeah, because 6 snaps, then Luke Baklenko had it the rest of the way. Jacob Sexton just can never. He's kind of been a snake bitten dude. So hopefully it's not anything super long term for him. And obviously we'll keep an eye on that over the course of the week. Anything else from this game before we kind of look ahead a little bit to this coming week? Isaiah Satania I mentioned earlier.
Yeah,
really liked him in the punt return game. He's going to break. We talked about this actually. He's going to break a
he's going to get one.
And just the sure handedness of him. Like, you feel confident with him back there. He doesn't look like twitchy in a bad way, he's very sure-handed, and he had a couple of nice returns. We didn't see Sandell attempt a field goal. He made all those extra points, but no field goal attempts.
Jacob Ulrich was good.
What's that?
Jacob Ulrich. He only had the 2 punts, but the first one went 54 yards, no return, down inside the 20-yard line. That's what you like to see. And I think it was just a 6-yard return they gave up on the other one. Still netted out like 45-something yards per punt attempt. So promising little start there for special teams. Like you said, would have been nice to see Tate Sandell kick a field goal, but at the same time, if you're the offense, like you want 6s, not 3s.
Yeah, and Satania, he had like a 50+ yard that was called back, right? Was it like
because Danny Okoye
I thought he was gonna house it.
Yeah, that was a good one. So that was a good one there too. So like, he shows the speed, shows his skill back there. I mean, he looks confident. Like you said, like I was saying, he's tracking the ball pretty well back there. You don't like have that like, oh, is he gonna catch it? Is he gonna muff it type of feeling like you did last year or years prior. Like he looks sure-handed, so overall he looks pretty good.
Yeah,
and he averaged 60, I guess.
Yeah, he averaged 16 yards on the returns. And again, it's a 1-game sample size, but I feel pretty confident in saying like Oklahoma has not had a guy like him back on punt returns since Marvin Mims.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, probably very, very accurate. But good night at the stadium. Oklahoma played well, 35-3. Let's look ahead a little bit. The question now, can they beat Michigan? Are they ready to beat Michigan? And not even really specific to Michigan. So we'll have the game preview on Friday. We can really dive into like the matchup here. But, we kind of talk right off the top. Coming out of Saturday, how are you feeling about this team? Because unlike a year ago, they now jump right into it. They have a top 15 team coming in here this weekend. It's the biggest game in America. Everyone's going to be here. It feels like every national media. It's going to be insane. It's going to be a zoo. I'm excited. It's going to be fun, but it's a huge game. It's a huge spot. Confidence level, again, not necessarily the matchup with Michigan, although that's what's in front of us, but just beating a Michigan, like a top 15 team. Are they ready for that? Where are you guys kind of feeling confidence-wise in this team right now going into, obviously, a very big step up in competition from what they just faced with Illinois State at the FCS? You have a top 15 Big Ten team rolling in here, another blue blood. Here we go. We're going to learn a lot about this team, later this week.
Yeah, I mean, they better be ready.
Yeah, right.
I mean, like you said, it's a huge game. They got to get that offensive line situated, get that that running back rotation and just the run game figured out. Feel good about where the passing game is, how the receivers are doing going into this game. Going to be really interesting to see Deion Burks. Is he the one Michigan native on this roster? Going against a Michigan team that did not recruit him out of high school.
Mm-hmm. He made a big deal about it too.
And I will have more on that this week on the site.
Right.
But Deion Burks was not recruited by Michigan out of high schools. He's got some feelings about that. He's got some former high school teammates on that team, including Bryce Underwood. I mean, they briefly played together when Bryce was first coming up as an 8th grader or 9th grader, and I think Deion was a senior when. Yeah, Deion was a senior when Bryce was a 8th grader, starting to do some work with the varsity team stuff. So he knows some guys on that team. It's going to be really interesting. But yeah, I mean, like they need to be ready. And then, defensively, obviously, Bryce Underwood's going to be his first big start as a true freshman. That is a tough environment to go into for your first road game. I think Brent Venables is going to have these guys ready. I'm more concerned about how are they going to stop Justice Haynes, the Alabama transfer running back, because he looked very good for Michigan this past weekend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's the thing too. Like, I think Bryce Underwood is like the key of this game. Like, how is he going to perform? And it's kind of reminding me of like when Tennessee brought Nico in for the first time, and Oklahoma's defense played really well. Then, how are they going to just make it hard for Bryce Underwood? What is he going to do? He didn't have to run the ball a lot in their opener as well. So you didn't get to see the explosiveness from his legs a lot there. They were kind of keeping it vanilla as well. So how's that matchup going to go? That's kind of like the most interesting thing I want to look out for when looking at this game. I mean, just that aspect in itself. I think Oklahoma's offense, like we've been talking about, there were some really good things that we saw through the air that's going to really help them in this matchup, I think, overall. So it's all about that defense and shutting them down, because like we said, if they just had an average offense last year, it was going to look a lot different. And I think at the very least, this offense can be average overall.
Yeah, and it's worth noting, I think Oklahoma opened as a 5.5-point favorite when the books released lines yesterday. And I do wonder how much the first half suspension of Jayshawn Barham kind of plays into that. He's a very good linebacker for Michigan. He's going to miss the first half after a targeting ejection that Michigan appealed, but it was upheld. We found out this morning. So Oklahoma's going to need to try to take advantage of that in the first half because he is a key player for them, and not having him out there, I think, could be a big factor for this game.
Mm-hmm. That's like missing Kip Lewis. Like that's a big deal. You know what I mean? So like I think the line was like 3, like in the preseason, it was like 3 points now. So now it's
I think it opened around like 2 or so in the summer when the early lines were out, and then obviously shifted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
Oklahoma, I think I guess I shouldn't say because I don't know for sure. Someone said that John Mateer is the betting favorite for the Heisman now. I think that's we're 1 game in.
See it? Yeah, I can see it.
I think we still have
a couple games to see, right?
I saw someone post it, but I didn't verify it, so I shouldn't say it. Go check that one out there. Yeah, I mean, for me, I guess where I'm at with this Oklahoma team right now, I feel very confident that this defense is good, really good, and they have the quarterback. And they have an offensive coordinator that I think is at least competent and has a quarterback that he trusts and a quarterback that trusts him. And so on the most base level, you're in a good spot right there. I mean, when you have the quarterback in place and you have a good defense, you're going to have a chance to win games. And that's where I kind of am with this team right now. There's still questions on the offensive line, just how good this offense can be. I think it's still fair to wonder if the defense is like great or just good. Like, I think we're still, that's still to be determined. I certainly think it's really good, but we'll see how they fare against better competition as we go along. But again, on the most base level, if you tell me any team, they got a really good defense and they have a really good quarterback, like, I don't even need anything else. Like, okay, well, that team's going to have a chance to win games then, so that's kind of where I am with Oklahoma. I think it's fair to be optimistic after the first game. A little bit of a slow start. Yeah, I know fans were hoping for like a 60-0. I think we all kind of thought that's the way it was going to go, but Illinois State did a good job, really. This was a fast game. There was not that many possessions on Saturday. Like, they really kind of shortened it up. A lot of long possessions. The game flew by. I still feel 3 hours. Offense. And I think Oklahoma, I mean, we'll see when we pick the game on Friday in the preview, but I think Oklahoma's going to have a very good chance to win this weekend. I really do. So, yeah, go ahead.
How different would you feel if it was like those three touchdown drives that came consecutively in the first half, if they were on the first 3 possessions of the game instead?
Right.
You would think
he doesn't fumble. I mean,
it would just feel a lot different, I think, overall. But the fact that they were able to collect themselves and get it together was pretty good as well.
Yeah. For the record, Garrett Nussmeier is the current betting favorite for the Heisman. Right. Arch Manning has dropped. He was the preseason favorite at a lot of places.
He was the favorite. Wow, I didn't know.
But I think John Mateer is top 5 or 6, depending on where you look. But his odds have certainly improved from the preseason to today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're correct about that. Yeah, Nussmeier the favorite, but yeah, you're right. Mateer, moved. Went from 25-1 to 13-1, which is in the top 5, at least according to this article I just found. So yeah, it's the hype train is going for him a little bit. It already was, and then he goes and has a great opener. So there you have it. Felt good to be back at the stadium. It was great weather. I think we're gonna get great weather again this weekend. It's unbelievable.
Knock on wood.
The run we're on. Yeah, it looks like 75 right now as the high on Saturday. It's unbelievable.
Although I think
I got rained on a little. It wasn't awful. It was only for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, I think you would have wanted to be that southern scorching heat with bringing Michigan in, like maybe to give you the advantage.
I'm sure it'll still be humid because we've been getting rain throughout the week. So I'm sure Michigan will have to deal with some undue humidity.
It was great to be back, though. It was great weather. The Toby Keith song is no more between the third and fourth quarter. I don't know what they kind of bungled what they were trying to do. So hopefully it's a little cleaner this time around on Saturday. But I thought it was a great crowd, right? I mean, everyone was into it. The Mateer hype, certainly people were very, like Tom's point earlier, like he kind of has that biggest star feel already.
I think the kids call it aura.
He has that aura. Yeah, it was fun. It was fun to be at the stadium. And a good way to kick things off. And I'm really fired up for this weekend. It's going to be awesome. I mean, anytime you get, we talked about this before, we didn't get this that much. I know this is not an SEC game, so it kind of kills the point I'm making. But for a long time, they didn't get a lot of big games at home. I mean, the Texas games down in Dallas, And, outside of these big non-conference games, I mean, you didn't get a lot of big home games. And so, you think of like when Ohio State came here in 2016, it's probably pretty comparable to what this will be like this weekend. It's going to be awesome. And I think everyone's really excited for this. And I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a great week leading up to it for what should be obviously quite a scene on Saturday night. Looking forward to it for sure. So I think that's it. We'll be back later this week for the game preview on Friday. Colin, I'll be with you on Thursday. That's going to be a pod you're not going to miss because we're going to dive into the visitor list, which is long.
It's a long list
for this weekend. So we'll get into all that on Thursday. Not going to miss that game preview. Three of us to set the stage for Friday. What does Oklahoma got to do to win? Who are we watching for? And, of course, we will pick the game as well on Friday. Player interviews tonight in Norman. Keep an eye out for that this evening. Hear from the team. Brent Venables, Ben Arbuckle tomorrow, Tuesday. And then we'll be there on Saturday night. Going to be fun. Looking forward to it. But we'll talk to you, obviously, before then with the preview on Friday. That's it for now. Again, reminder, don't forget, subscribe. Sooners Illustrated, Sooners Pod 60. Say 60% off right now. Big week around here. Good time to jump in. Sooners Illustrated, we'll set the stage for you as Oklahoma hosts Michigan on Saturday night. For Tom Green, James D. Jackson, I'm Josh Callaway. Signing off for now. We'll see you next time right back here, as always, on Sooners Illustrated.
See you.